One of the biggest issues that I hear in other people's music is a muddy song mix. So today I'm going to talk about why this actually happens and give you 3 easy ways to easily fix a muddy mix. What's up everyone, and welcome to the Wavebenders Music Channel, the place where you can learn everything about music production as well as songwriting. If you enjoy our content, please make sure to like our videos as well as subscribe so we can continue to make more videos for you and the rest of the music community. So when it comes to mixing, the most common thing that I hear in other people's music always comes down to a muddy mix. And I have 3 reasons today of why this actually happens, and we're going to go into detail about how to fix them with some methods and techniques that I constantly use. So the first one has to do with frequency masking. And what frequency masking means is that there's 2 or more sounds playing at the same time, and they're in the same frequency range, and so they're starting to cover each other up, and so you can't hear the other really clearly. So the first technique that I use and try to use with most of my sounds that are either really high or really low is a high pass or a low pass filter. I always make sure to look up and check if I'm right about low pass or high pass. When you're talking about low pass, I'm going to show you an example too so you can look at it. Low pass is essentially any frequencies that are lower than this are allowed to pass through the filter, is how I think about it. And with the high pass filter, any frequencies that are higher than this are allowed to pass through, so it'll look like kind of like this. You can also use band pass as well if you really want to just focus on maybe just mid-range is what I like to do for a lot of my instruments, so you can use band pass as well. But a great way to use this in a real situation is, let's say that I have a bass line that I really like, that sounds really nice, but it has some higher frequencies that are starting to really cut into maybe my melody or my voice, something like that. So I would actually use what is called a low pass filter to really cut off anything that is higher than what I want. And this easily cuts out any frequencies that I think might have a chance of competing with some of the other elements in my song. You can do the same thing with other melodies that may be higher up top. Use a high pass filter to cut out anything that might be too low that could possibly bleed into the bass, the mid-range, anything like that. The second method that you can do is use bell curves, and I mainly use bell curves in a subtractive EQ way in the 200 to 500 hertz range. As you start to mix and make music more, you really find that the 200 to 500 range has a lot of muddiness in it when it comes to a lot of your music. So I use bell curves to kind of dip and subtract some areas more precisely to get rid of some muddiness that might be hurting my song. And the third thing that I usually try is add some brightness or some darkness to my audio signal. This kind of ties into the first one that I mentioned about high pass and low pass, but it's more intentional, I think, with the way that you kind of make your music. So let's say that I have an element of my song like a guitar melody or a guitar solo that I really want to stick out. This is something that I might add some brightness to when it comes in to really stick out from the rest of the song so that our ears are kind of drawn to it. You can do the same thing with darkness as well. If you listen to a lot of Drake's music, there's a certain kind of darkness and underwater kind of sound that happens with a lot of the instruments in his music that really makes his voice the focus. And so darkening something to draw focus to another thing is a great method to try as well. The second reason you may be experiencing muddiness in your mix is because you have too many things in your stereo field. The best way I can describe stereo field is that you have left and right, and so you have all of the area within this stereo field from all the way left to all the way right to be able to place your music in. So the first technique that you can apply in your stereo field is to pan elements of your song. So you might pan your guitar to the right, you might have your piano a little bit to the left, and you might have your voice right down the middle. By extending your stereo field and panning things left and right, you have more, first of all, interest to your music, but also you have more space, you have more separation between your instruments to be able to have enough in different places that it really doesn't compete as much. The second technique or method that I use is sometimes I use stereo widening plugins to be able to make my stuff a little bit more full, more wide, more present across my entire mix. Let's say I have a guitar solo that's coming in that I want to feel a bit larger and bigger. I will use things like a chorus effect, I will use things like a flanger, maybe some stereo imaging plugins as well. Do not overuse these and max them all the way out because it starts to get a really kind of digital kind of phasing type of sound to it if you overuse it and use too much. So I like to use a little bit just to create a little bit more width to my sound to make it a little bit bigger. And the third reason you may be having issues is because of your octave designation. This reason has to do with the actual composition or making of your music. And the way it happens when you're actually composing your music is you're not using the entire range of pitches that are available to you. So instead of playing or picking sounds that are high, that are low, that are middle, all of your sounds or your musical melodies, anything like that, are in the same area of pitch, right? So when you're composing or making beats, every time that you play something or choose a sound, it has sort of a range of pitches to it. So what I do is split up these parts to make some of them higher and some of them lower to be able to create some separation. So maybe I place this instrument in the C5 to C6 range, and then I might place these elements in the C3 to C4 range. Now Now what we've done is create more contrast and more opportunity for these things to be able to be heard instead of all blending together and being in the same area. And after I've tried some of these methods and actually seen a result of difference, I actually look at the frequency curves to see if there's more in some areas than others and see if I can kind of make them more even. There's more tips and tricks out there to be able to fix a muddy mix. These are just the 3 most common that I've seen even in my own music before in the past, and these are some easy ways to fix them. If you like this video, make sure to like, but also make sure to hit subscribe too for this channel to make sure that we can keep making videos for you and the community. Tune back in as well for the podcast episode that's coming this week, and be sure to make sure to look out for the rest of our stuff on social media channels. Peace.